The Book of Unspoken Desires. Chapter 1. The Bookshop in the Rain. The rain came down in sheets, blurring the street into streaks of grey. Lena hunched deeper into her coat, clutching her bag tight against the downpour. She'd been walking home from the train when the storm broke, sudden and heavy, and now her shoes squelched with every step. That was when she saw the shop. Its crooked sign read Hargrave's Antiquities. The letters faded to the colour of old bones. The display window was crowded with cracked globes, yellowed maps, and clocks that had long since stopped ticking. The light inside flickered warmly, a beacon against the storm. Grateful for shelter, Lena pushed the heavy wooden door open. A bell chimed above her head, oddly muted, as if reluctant to announce her. The air inside smelled of dust and parchment, with a faint metallic tang beneath. Stacks of books towered in precarious piles, some tied with string, others bound in leather so worn their titles had been erased by time. From behind the counter, an old man looked up. His eyes were sharp, almost too sharp, like a bird's. "You're soaked," he said, voice rasping. "Yeah. Sorry, just needed a place out of the rain." He waved a thin hand. "Browse if you like. The books don't mind company." Lena wandered between the shelves, brushing fingertips over spines. Most of the books seemed too fragile to touch. She was about to leave when something caught her eye. On a low shelf, half hidden between atlases, was a slim black volume. Unlike the others, its cover was immaculate, smooth, dark as ink, with no title or author. Only when she tilted it under the light did she see faint silver lines etched into the leather, shifting patterns that seemed to ripple like water. Her breath caught. The book felt alive. She pulled it free. It was strangely heavy for its size, as though the weight of many secrets pressed between its covers. "That one," said the old man sharply. Lena turned, startled. "What about it?" He studied her with unreadable eyes, then gave a long, slow sigh. "It's not meant for the shelf. Take it. Just take it. I can't afford. No charge." His voice was final, almost desperate. "It's yours now." The way he said it chilled her, but the storm outside was still raging, and she didn't want to argue. She slipped the book into her bag, thanked him, and hurried back into the rain. Neither noticed the faint shimmer of silver ink forming across the first blank page. Welcome, Keeper. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss more eerie and fascinating tales. Chapter 2. The First Wish. At home, Lena peeled off her wet clothes and made tea. The storm still pounded at the windows, though curiously, her apartment felt warmer than usual, as if the book itself radiated heat from inside her bag. She set it on the kitchen table. Under the lamp, its black cover glistened faintly, the shifting pattern more pronounced. With a mix of curiosity and unease, she opened it. The first several pages were blank, creamy parchment without lines or markings. Then, halfway through, she found words written in delicate silver ink. "Write what you wish, and it shall be yours." Lena frowned. Cute. Some kind of gimmick. But something about the words tugged at her. The ink seemed fresh, almost wet, though it did not smudge when she touched it. She fetched a pen, hesitated, then laughed at herself. Why not? On the page, she scrawled, "I wish the rain would stop." Nothing happened. She leaned back, rolling her eyes. Figures. But then, silence. She froze. The steady drumming on the windows had ceased. She rushed to the glass and pulled back the curtain. Outside, the rain was gone. Not slowing, not fading, gone. The pavement gleamed wet, but the sky was clear, the storm dissolved as if it had never existed. Her heart pounded. Coincidence? Surely. A freak chance. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that the timing had been too precise. She sat back down, staring at the book. The silver letters on the page seemed brighter now, almost smug. Her hand trembled as she reached for her pen again. Chapter 3. Rent Money. The next morning, Lena woke with a knot in her stomach. Her rent was due. The number, $1,325, glared at her from the bill taped to her fridge. Her checking account had less than $100. She glanced toward the table. The black book lay exactly where she'd left it, closed but humming in her thoughts. "No," she muttered. "I'm not that desperate." But desperation has a way of arguing back. By late afternoon, after checking her balance again, she found herself sitting with the book open in front of her, pen poised. She hesitated, biting her lip. Then she wrote, "I wish I had enough money to pay my rent." She stared at the words, waiting. Nothing changed. She sighed in relief. Maybe it only worked for silly coincidences, like the rain. But the next morning, she found an envelope pushed under her apartment door. Inside, 13 crisp $100 bills, and a single 25. Lena's breath caught. She scanned the hallway, empty. No note, no explanation. Just the exact amount she'd asked for. The money felt wrong in her hands. The bills smelled faintly of smoke, like they'd passed through fire. She shoved them into an envelope and carried them to her landlord, who counted them without question. But as Lena left the office, she couldn't shake the thought. Where had the money come from? Who had lost it for her to gain it? When she returned home, the book was waiting on the table. Its cover shimmered faintly, as if pleased. Chapter 4, The Price of Silence. The book became harder to ignore. Lena tried to shove it in a drawer, but she always knew it was there. At night, she dreamed of its pages fluttering, silver words crawling across parchment like veins. At work, things worsened. A co-worker named Marissa had always been cold to her, but lately she'd begun spreading rumors about Lena's finances, her lateness, even her personal life. One particularly humiliating afternoon, Lena fled to the bathroom to cry. The words came unbidden. "I wish Marissa would forget my name." By the time she got home, the thought had festered into temptation. The book was waiting on her desk. She didn't even need to write carefully. The pen seemed to move with her hand. "I wish Marissa would forget my name." The next day at work, Marissa walked right past her without so much as a sneer. At lunch, Lena tried to speak to her, but Marissa only blinked in confusion. "Sorry," Marissa said. Do I know you?" It wasn't just Marissa. By evening, no one in the office remembered her at all. Marissa's desk was cleared, her email deactivated, her presence erased as if she'd never existed. Lena's stomach turned. She'd only wished for forgetfulness, but the book had gone further. That night, Lena opened the book again, desperate to undo it. But when she tried to write "I wish Marissa would come back," the ink vanished into the page, leaving it blank. The book would not reverse. Her hands shook as she closed it. From somewhere deep within, a whisper rose, not spoken aloud, but clear in her thoughts. All wishes have a price. Chapter 5, The Whispers Between Pages. The nights grew restless. Lena began waking at odd hours, heart racing, the faintest of sounds prickling her ears. Not footsteps, not voices, something softer, a murmur that seemed to seep from the desk where the book lay. When she crept closer, she swore the pages were turning themselves. The first time, she thought it was a dream. The second, she touched the parchment and found fresh words glimmering in silver ink. Words she hadn't written. "You are lonely. You want them to see you. You wish for more." Her skin crawled. These weren't idle observations, they were her own thoughts, ones she'd never dared speak aloud. She slammed the book shut, shoved it into a locked drawer, and buried the key under a pile of laundry. But the whispers didn't stop. At work, she heard them faintly beneath the chatter of phones. On the bus, they tickled the edge of her hearing. In her dreams, they grew bolder, urging her toward desires she tried to deny: admiration, revenge, power. One night, half asleep, she stumbled to her desk. The drawer was open. The key was still buried. And the book lay open to a page that hadn't been there before. Across it, in neat silver strokes, was a new message. Do not resist. Wishes are what make you human. Chapter 6, The Keeper's Curse. By now, Lena's nerves were frayed. She stopped sleeping properly, avoided friends, even quit answering calls. The only place she thought she might find answers was where it had all begun, Hargrave's Antiquities. The shop was nearly deserted when she arrived. Dust lay thick on the shelves, and the clocks in the window hadn't moved a second since she'd last been there. The old man looked up as the bell chimed. His eyes narrowed when he saw her. "You," he rasped. I told you not to come back. You gave me that thing. Lena snapped. You knew what it was. He grimaced, motioning for her to lower her voice. Not so loud. The book listens. Her chest tightened. What is it? Hargrave leaned heavily on the counter, his hands trembling. It has no name that stays the same. I've heard it called the Ledger of Desire, the Whispering Tome, the Keeper's Grimoire. It feeds on want. It offers wishes, yes, but not freely. Never freely. I didn't ask for any of this, Lena whispered. No one ever does. The book chooses its keeper. Always someone vulnerable. Someone hungry. It grants what you write, but every gain is another's loss. The more you take, the more it binds you. Until, at last, it finds a new keeper and passes on. Lena's skin prickled. And what happens to the old keeper? Hargrave's eyes darkened. You've seen the whispers. Then you already know. The old keepers don't leave. They become part of the book. A chill rooted Lena in place. She thought of the shifting patterns on the cover, the faint sense of movement. Faces, perhaps. Souls. She staggered back. Then how do I stop it? How do I get rid of it? Hargrave shook his head. No one stops it. You can only resist. For as long as you can. Behind her, she thought she heard the faint rustle of turning pages, though her bag was shut tight. Chapter 7, The Undoing. Back in her apartment, Lena emptied her bag onto the floor. The book slid out first, landing with a heavy thud that felt deliberate, as though it had chosen where to fall. She flipped it open, hands shaking. The silver ink on its pages pulsed faintly, alive. She scrawled desperately. I wish Marissa came back. The ink vanished. The page remained blank. She tried again. I wish everything went back to the way it was. I wish none of this had happened. Each time, the words sank into the parchment and dissolved into nothing, as though the book were swallowing them whole. No, she whispered. You can't just. But the book could. Her fury overtook her fear. She hurled it across the room. It struck the wall and fell open, pages fluttering. The whispers rose louder than ever, a hiss of countless voices pressing against her skull. Wishes cannot be undone. You took. You must carry. Lena clamped her hands over her ears, but the voices were inside her, wrapping around her thoughts. She collapsed onto the floor, tears streaking her face. For the first time, she understood what Hargrave had meant. Every wish was permanent. The book only moved forward. And it wanted her to keep writing. Chapter 8. Temptation's Grip. 4 days, Lena avoided the book. She shoved it under her bed, tried drowning herself in work, even drank herself into a stupor just to silence the whispers. But they never left. The book spoke to her in the quiet moments, on the bus, in the shower, between dreams. Always coaxing. Always tempting. You want to be seen. You want to be adored. You want what they never gave you. She fought it until the night she caught her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked worn, hollowed by stress. She thought of how invisible she'd always been, how easily people dismissed her. Her hands moved before her mind could stop them. She dragged the book out, opened it, and wrote. I wish people would love me. Truly love me. The ink glowed. The very next day, strangers stopped her on the street just to smile. Neighbors brought her gifts for no reason. At work, colleagues who had barely noticed her now spoke her name with reverence. Men stared at her with longing. Women reached out to touch her as though she were precious. At first, it felt intoxicating. But within hours, it soured. Their affection was too intense, too blind. The barista at her cafe wept when she didn't finish her coffee. A man followed her for blocks, insisting he'd die without her. Friends she hadn't spoken to in years flooded her phone with desperate messages, begging to be near her. It wasn't love. It was obsession. Hollow, terrifying devotion. By nightfall, she bolted her door against the pounding of neighbors demanding to see her, voices breaking in worship. She sat in the dark, shaking, the book warm in her lap. The whispers purred in her mind. Every wish brings you closer. And she realized they weren't promising happiness. They were promising surrender. Chapter 9. The final bargain. Lena hadn't slept in 2 days. The whispers no longer came and went, they were constant now, a tide of silver voices pushing against her thoughts. She sat in her apartment, curtains drawn, the book open before her. Its pages turned without her touch, revealing phrases she had never written. I wish for more. I wish for everything. I wish for a new keeper. Her heart seized. That last line, she hadn't written it. The letters glowed brighter, as if etched by an unseen hand. As she stared, the room around her began to blur. The furniture wavered, flickering between her apartment and unfamiliar spaces. A cobblestone street, a battlefield, a candlelit chamber. Faces appeared in the mirror, men and women of different ages, eyes wide with terror, mouths moving silently. She recognized them. Past keepers. Trapped. Her reflection shifted among them, her own face flickering out, replaced by theirs. No, Lena whispered. She gripped her pen like a weapon. You're not taking me. The whispers surged, deafening now. Right. 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 She pressed the pen to the page, but the words fought her hand. Her strokes twisted, reshaping into sentences she didn't mean to write. I wish to belong. I wish to remain. She tore the pen away, gasping. The silver letters bled into the page like veins, spreading across the parchment. The book wasn't just granting wishes, it was making them. Chapter 10, a new name on the page. The voices screamed inside her head, pulling her down, wrapping her in silver fire. She knew if she let go, if she allowed even one more word, the book would claim her forever. Her last strength went into a single act of defiance. She forced the pen back onto the page and carved her own words through the silver tide. I wish for the book to end. The parchment glowed so fiercely she had to shield her eyes. Flames burst from the pages, not orange or red, but searing silver, consuming ink and paper alike. The whispers rose in a final, furious shriek before vanishing into silence. When Lena opened her eyes, the book was gone. Her apartment was still. The mirror showed only her own exhausted face. The pounding at her door had stopped. Outside, the city went on as if nothing had happened. For the first time in weeks, she felt free. But freedom is fragile. Weeks later, on the other side of town, a boy wandered into a thrift store during a drizzle of rain. In the back corner, beneath a stack of cracked atlases, he found a slim black book with a cover that shimmered faintly when it caught the light. He smiled, tucking it under his arm. And across the first page, silver ink curled into fresh letters. Welcome, Keeper.